Hello, you're welcome to the UD Factor. Have you heard about drug abuse? I'm sure that issue is in most homes, but today we'll not be talking about drug abuse. We're going to be talking about substance abuse. So what is substance use and abuse? What are the subtle warning signs that would make you recognize that your child, your loved one, or someone you know very well is abusing substance and is also addicted to that substance abuse? What are the different substances that one gets addicted to or that we abuse? I know we abuse malaria tablets, but today the expert will be talking us through substance abuse. And my guest is Dr. Dokun Adedeji. He's a medical practitioner, a national coordinator, CADAM. CADAM is Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry. It's a faith-based NGO that caters to the treatment and rehabilitation of drug addicts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. Doctor, thank you so very much for coming to empower us with information on substance abuse. What is substance use and abuse?
Before, it used to be called drug abuse because it's so restricted, then you limit it to drugs. But now we call it substance because there are all kinds of materials now available for people to use and abuse. When they use, it could be for recreational users, it could be for social users, it could be a first-time user, maybe went to a party and then they saw them using that. But when it then becomes an abuse is when the person now needs to keep using it for one thing or the other, and then he becomes addicted that he can't do without it. He needs to take it for one reason or the other, either before going to class, I need to take it before going to stage as a musician. So it's a process, but the scary thing about it is no more drugs, it's now substance. All kinds of, maybe the course of the program let you know, all kinds of substances that even very innocuous, the ones you never thought is possible, right in the homes, right there in the homes, people use them and abuse them. It will shock you the range of substances that are capable, even the ones that are so odious that you think, how will anyone want to do this? People do it. It's so scary.
Okay, now, which brings me to our next question, so that you just continue. What are the substances that are being abused?
Let me just start like this. There are some you call them illicit drugs. Maybe drugs like cocaine, heroin, marijuana, because those are hard stuff. Now we have what you call prescription drugs too. Things like Refnol that are given, Valium, Librium, drugs that are given for particular uses, for specific uses, cough syrup like Benylin, Tutylin, Emzolin that you're supposed to use for cough. And then people now find reasons to abuse it. They use it just anyhow, and it leads to a lot of, particularly amongst young people, undergraduates and younger people in secondary school, and females in particular, married women, as in the Northwest, go to Jos, go to Kano, go to Jigawa area, and then also there's alcohol. We have tried to organize them to three sectors like that. Alcohol is what you call socially acceptable, that you find it everywhere, you find it in every circumstance. It is seriously being abused. And then to come to the ones that I call the most innocuous, look at methylated spirit. What these women use to clean their nails, nail polish remover, aerosols, and then the one that probably you would not believe is people wake up in the morning to go to the pit latrine, and then they open it up and then suck up the stain that comes out of it. The other one that probably you see is if you see very dirty gutters and then congested, they can bring out the stuff or dunghill, they put it in the mold, and then they put fire under it, and then go around about it, and then they sniff it. So those are, I mean, the ranges of things that are possible. So that's why we need to get scared. So you may say, oh, my kid does not have enough money to buy cocaine or heroin, but he can do cough syrup. When they get the cough syrup, they can use Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola or La Casera. And then you see him holding Coca-Cola, and then oh, he's drinking Coke, but it's all laced up with benylin, with codeine, because of the codeine aspect of it. So this is a time and a season in which parents, the family in particular, and school authorities and church authorities must watch out particularly. And some of the things you find, even in the case of marijuana, there's one that is called skunk. Skunk is a mixture, marijuana, cocaine, and then a little bit of dry leaves, maybe a pawpaw or something, ground together and then smoked. And some also are so prepared that it doesn't smell like the regular smell. So even when the kid uses it at home, you don't know. If a kid, for instance, uses benylin with codeine or sniffs,
you think nothing of it.
But the thing is, parents today must be very particular. I'm not saying to the point of absolute suspicion, but you must watch and then see the thing that your kids do, and then the kinds of friends they keep, and the kind of activities they get involved in. Schools today are getting wiser, particularly universities. They're getting wiser to this, and then they're beginning to do something. We work with about 9 universities today. They send their students to us. We help them to rehabilitate, and we send them back. And then they take them back, and then they graduate. So it's possible to leave those things, but it's tough.
I'm total shocked about the gutter, about the latrine, about...
Yes.
How did they degenerate to that?
You see, it depends the skill. If a man cannot afford one, he goes for the other one. So crack cocaine is very expensive and is very strongly addictive, just like heroin.
Yes.
A dose of heroin, you can get addicted. And crack cocaine is extremely addictive and it's very expensive. But if you can afford that, then you can go for the cough syrup. You can go for glue. You can go for gum. You can go for those kind of things, aerosol.
Because you probably see your child with glue, cough syrup, gum.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even suspect.
You wouldn't suspect. But the way to look at it is, does he have a cough? If he doesn't have a cough, how many bottles does he need to carry on him? The other thing that is important is when they buy Coca-Cola, they decant a bit of the Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola because it's colored, and then they put about 3 bottles or 2 bottles.
And you never know.
And you never know.
Hold that thought, doctor. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, my guest is Dr. Dokun Adedeji. He's a medical practitioner, national coordinator, CADAM, Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry. It's a faith-based NGO that caters to the treatment and rehabilitation of drug addicts. What do you know about your child? Mm-hmm. What do you know? What do you see your child doing? Well, today we're talking about substance abuse and all the substances that are being abused. If you're just joining us, I'm in shocks.
Most people
What's the difference between drug and substance abuse?
I mean, you know that pharmacological drugs,
Yes.
if anti-malarials, paracetamol, those are drugs. But when you want to make a distinction, you call it either hard drugs or illicit drugs, because illicit drugs are drugs that you can't be prescribed to you, so you shouldn't be able to buy it above the counter. But these are things today, and then you then go into prescription drugs. I mean, if you look at, there's a drug called fentanyl. Fentanyl is prescribed for maybe pain or anxiety and all the rest. But people have found that fentanyl is about 50 times as potent as heroin. And that was what killed Prince.
Okay.
And then if you also look at Michael Jackson, he was an analgesic, but then he began to use it on a propofol Then he even got himself a doctor to be administering it, and that it gave him a heart attack and he died. So drugs are drugs that are prescribed, can be prescribed and abused. Illicit drugs are drugs that you can normally use, you should normally be found on you, but people can get. I mean, look, if I give you an example again, like tramadol. Tramadol can be called trauma, is what is used also for very severe pains. But today people have abused it. They mix it with alomobitas. A lot of the capsules with alomobitas, and then they use for parties, and then they take. So it's, today, unless it is so pharmacologically defined, you can't begin to say this is, but now people go outside the scope of legal drugs into illicit and then into substances.
What are the subtle warning signs that parents can look?
Women are very good at this. That
Yes.
is why women must know. Look, I give kudos to women. They're very perceptive. When something begins to go wrong, they're the first to know because they watch. This woman said she noticed that the methylated spirit in the house just disappears.
Methylated spirit.
Methylated spirit.
They drink it?
No, they sniff it.
Sniff it.
Yeah, when they want to sniff it, they put it in the handkerchief or some of these,
Yeah.
and then they sniff it, they carry. So I said to her, she has a 14-year-old son. And I said,
14?
14. Oh, yes, we have younger people who do drugs, 10, 11, even. Now if you go to secondary schools or upper level or primary school, you'll find people take codeine. And then they take skunk because they can get it around the church, around the school. So I said to the woman, what you would do is go with him, buy the bottle of methylated spirit, let him say, and then when you get home, you hide it. So she did. The next day, the boy came charging and said, Mommy, where's the medicine? Where's the medicine? So those are some of the things. And also, some of the things I said to parents, would you like to take a look at your children, know them very well? When your child begins to lie, and it never was like that, or a child that was very meticulous about their appearance begins to get decrepit, and then he cares no more about dressing up, well, puts on bathroom slipper when he's going out, just dresses anyhow, and he becomes rude, plays truancy in school, because that's something that parents don't know. They take their kids to school. They say, oh, I dropped him in school. If you want to check, like a mother did, a father did, told the mother, I said, look, the mother told the father, I said, look, I think our son, 15, was beginning to cut classes. The mother said, no, I dropped him in school. I said, okay, you know what you're going to do? Drop him in school, come back about 30 minutes after. When he came back, 30, the boy was no more in school. He's gone. You know?
And then he'll come back before school.
Yeah, of course. Even the same thing happens in church. You take your kid to church, they go to teenage church or children's church, and there's no absolute check. They leave. I've seen it before. It was very clear to me. The guy came, took the girl away, they went away, and they will come back before service ends. So there are all kinds of things. If your child, the grades begin to drop, attention span begins to diminish, and then you go to the room, he puts on his door, locks his room, the room that never was locked, and he begins to be very evasive about questions, and in the house is wearing sunglasses, even within the house setting, and at night he wears sunglasses, and then he's always wanting to stay alone in his room, so I don't want to be disturbed there. And he never was like that. And then he begins to use strong perfume. I mean, he begins to wear... To mask that, or the sweet menthol, thick menthol sweet, and then just to keep the smell away. When you begin to notice all this, or you get to your kid's room, he's always spraying with an insecticide. That, oh, I want to keep... No, there must be something wrong. I'm not saying when you see those things,
yes,
it means absolutely they're using them. But those are sentinel signs that you need to begin to be careful. When it begins to get too sleepy, drowsy, he's not eating well, suddenly he begins to eat. One of the things that parents should do is know their kids' friends. But when this person changes friends like that, and he's always going out at a particular time and coming back later, and he reeks or smells of something, the thing also we need to begin to understand. People used to think that usage of drug was with motor park boys.
Yes.
No,
yes,
it's not true.
It has.
It's not true. It's now cosmopolitan, if I can put it like that. It cuts across. Whether a young person, a man or a woman, married or not, students, even very high among students now, if you put 10 students together, I can bet you 6 or 7 would have done it once or twice when they go to parties. You know, A mother came to me, found her son cooking in the kitchen of their house. He was garnishing his indomie with marijuana. The mother she freaked. But the boy said, no, I'm only just, all those. Look, if I tell you the kind of things, they can do it, put it in a cup, put water in it, and then put it like tea as if you're living in a corner, and then they drink it. They can use it to cook jollof rice, they can use it to boil meat, they can use it.
What?
All kinds of things. This is not the scary, but this is the
know
reality.
The reality of what is happening.
Was it a few days ago? I read it. The NCAA, yes, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, suspended 5 pilots who tested positive for marijuana. Pilots. So let's not be deceived. You see, I say to people, you just get into a mall or you get into a bus and you go. You may never get to where you go because you don't know what the guy does. If you go to a motor park, you see it sold. Marijuana is like pure water. You can get it anywhere, and it's cheap. And so, I'm glad that you're doing this.
Thank you.
I can't stop talking about this. I've talked till I'm getting blue in the face. Honestly. And it scares me. Look, I've been in this ministry for about 24 years.
And you've seen all sorts.
And I've seen all sorts. And I'm still saying. So it scares me. And then not to talk about other people.
A woman who discovers that her child is, confirms that her child is abusing substance. How does she start the process to helping? And don't respond to that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about substance abuse. You're welcome. Doc, like I said, a mother confirms her child is doing this. How do you start?
Generally, I like to say to parents and to schools, people must educate themselves about drugs, about substances, about the possibility of addiction and what you need to look at. And I say to parents, it's not because I've been this, I say, don't freak out when you catch your child. It's a common phenomenon today. If you freak out, you'll never know the truth. The thing is, be cool-headed about it. A friend of mine found out her son, not that he was using, but she was going through the stuff of her son, 14-year-old son, his bag, and then she found wraps of marijuana. She almost freaked. She told her pastor, look, don't freak. Let's talk. So when the boy got one, said the boys laughed. I said, oh, I bought it 2 weeks ago. I took only 2 wraps. It didn't shock me, and I left the rest. The thing to do is the mother must, first of all, cool down. Have a discussion with this child. Look, this is what I think. And it should not be from the point of judgmental position. Oh, this is wrong. I don't know why you're my son. How come my son? That's not the real point. Pastors' kids take drugs. So there's no big deal about saying, how come my son? Anyone can. So the thing, get to the reality of it, discuss it, and say, look, would you rather that we discuss it and then let's find help? There are centers where you can get help, like our center, or go to hospitals. Most people don't like to go to psychiatric hospital because of stigma attached to it, but centers like that can help. Seek professional help, have a discussion, and the family must sit down and give support. There's no point in castigating and stigmatizing and ostracizing the child and making him feel unwanted. He will continue. One of the greatest factors that is required is love. Firmness and love and an understanding of what the situation is. There's no point making noise about it or keeping it. You see, one of the things where I think this has really gone on like this in this country, everybody runs away from it as if it doesn't happen. It's there.
People don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to own up that their child.
That's right. So they hide the children away. Look, let me tell you about what happened about HIV/AIDS. When it was rampant, Prof came out and said, my brother, that is ransom.
And they almost killed him.
You know, that one took away a bit of, and then you say, oh, come on, let's look at it. That is the same way. Look, I say to people, substance abuse is a public health issue, and it should be taken as if you have hypertension. So we can deal with it, and then we can let people own up to it and come out to deal with it. If we let them stay in the closet, They will teach other people. They will hide it.
And subtly spread it.
And subtly spread it. So I think parents should begin to come to the understanding that it could be my child, and then face it, and then be very factual about it, and be very open about it. I don't say go to CNN and announce it, but help your child. Help is available.
Talk us through like a process of rehabilitation.
Okay, what we do, for instance, we have we have the residential, we have the counseling session. So depending on the status of the patient, some may come from their offices. They can't leave office, so we put them on counseling. Some parents say, no, I don't want my child to go, but mostly we do residential, and it's a 1-year program dependent. If, for instance, the undergraduates, the professionals, we put them for 6 months. But for those who have lost skills, who've been on drugs for so long, they've been on the street, they've lost every sense of proportion, then they can go through the second phase, which is the vocational training section, skill acquisition, so they can start their lives again. So when they come in, we don't use anything. We're faith-based. But one of the things we have found that if you take away drugs, you must replace it with something, and then you must repersonalize them. Because one of the things we find out is when people get on drugs, they lose all sense of self-worth, depending on where they're coming from. And then nobody wants to be with them, nobody wants to support them. But when we show them love, and then they stay with us for about 6 months, we clothe, we feed them, we don't charge. And then they go through they begin to discover that actually I can leave this thing, that I don't really have to use drugs to self-esteem myself.
And they're violent.
You said?
And they're violent.
No, they're not. You see, the interesting thing about this, I'd like people to know, these people are one of the best people you can be with. And I'm not joking. Very intelligent people, very brilliant people, and very warm. But look, something pushes someone to drugs. Those are the things we need to begin to understand as a society. In this society today, everything is about wealth. Everything is about money. Nobody cares about the person. Even in homes, parents are no more there. They leave the care of their kids to domestic servants, to drivers. And I can tell you something. The drivers, your megad, are the people getting the drugs for them. So the thing to do is you must be close to your kids. Spend time with your kids. Come to understand with them. Look, one of the things we find out, parents don't discuss with their kids. They just come, they say, look, I want you to be a doctor.
Yes.
I want you to be a lawyer. Yes. Do you know his capability? Have you ever been to the old students association? Have you ever been to the parents' the school? Have you ever checked his grades? Anybody can be as good, can be a barber and be a very good barber. So the important thing is to support our kids in the choices they make. Even if you're going to make choices, why don't you discuss it? I like to be a doctor for this reason. The boy said, look, I don't want to be a doctor. Ask him why. And he says, I'd like to be a lawyer for these reasons. Why not? You see, one thing we've done as parents is to superimpose our will on the will of our kids. So we take away the ability to take.
Which leads to frustration.
Absolutely. There are other things. Maybe nobody talks to him, he's in the house, nobody cares about what he feels. Who asks him about what he wants? You say, I'm taking you on summer holiday. Doesn't want to go on summer holiday. We appease our children with gifts like that, but we don't spend time with them. And then we then say they are wayward. They will be wayward because where's the role model in the society? The parents are no more role models to their kids. So they find role models outside. And then so it's a gamut of things that we almost sit down to understand. That's why it's a social, economic, social, religious dimension that we almost sit down to come to understand and appreciation of what the issues are. It's not just to stand on the pedestal and say, oh, no, that's not true. Look at our country today. Where are the people that youth can look up to? Not too many. What do we say to them? Even in churches, you're not talking about contemporary issues they face every day. You say, go this. You know, these are fundamental things that I think as a people, we need to begin to come to grasp with and have an understanding. Our society is too stigmatizing. Our society is too judgmental. Oh, if, for instance, a minister comes out to say, my son takes drugs, it's a pushback. That's not the way. You don't know what your own kids are doing. So for me, I like us to have a different approach. And I thank the universities for what they're doing. Before, what they used to do was to rusticate. But now they don't. That's why we work about 9 of them. They call the kids, they say, look, would you like to go for rehab? If you go for rehab and you are certified, we'll take you back and then you can finish. And many have. I know quite a number. Today, some of them are doctors, they're lawyers. What if they have been rusticated? If you rusticate them, they'll go to another university. They go spread it.
Or they go worse.
They go worse. They kill.
Do you have statistics of how bad it is?
In the primary school, maybe not as obvious now, but if you go, let me say, I mean, roughly speaking, if you look at universities, like one of the boys told me, it must be close to 90%.
90%?
In many of our institutions. Because there are substances. Some use it once, they stop. Some continue to use, some get addicted to it. So it's a range. In terms of statistics, yeah, we have a bit of statistics that are scary, but that is the real fact. I mean, NDLA will supply you some of those things. They'll tell you that if you, for instance, I think it was 2 years ago, 12 million bottles of Benylin with codeine were sold in Jigawa and Kano. You know, for you to know the level of consumption. Many of the married women there take it because the husbands are not there. In this northeast, in the Boko Haram, they got to a camp and found cartons and cartons of tramadol.
That's supposed to be painkillers.
Yes, but they're now abused. And then used with other strong drinks and then to, yes, in terms of, yes, statistics, but not absolutely, but in terms of what we have done, that's what we've found.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I hope when I invite you next time, you'll come. At least that time lucky.
I will do. I promise.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, viewers, you know, our parents, we need to find time for our children and stop appeasing them with gifts. The time you spend with your child is a period in their lives they'll never forget. And we should be able to help our children so that we can make a better society, irrespective of the recession. Substance abuse is so pervasive in our society that we really need to do something about it. And it has to start from the home. Find time for your children. Because you make all that wealth, you send them to the best schools. And tomorrow, they don't turn out the kind of children you want them to be. Frustration sets in. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Dokun, let us know. Visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/theudfactor, or theudfactor@gmail.com, or a tweet at the UDFactor. We'll send you whatever information you need so that we can help our children out there. Until I come your way another time, thank you for your time, and goodbye, and this is My Factor. God bless.